I quit my job. And I'm not going to tell you everything yet, because there is definitely still a lot happening. And there's also a season for just quiet reflection before I let everyone in with their opinions, even the well-meaning ones. But I've learned some things, old lessons that have come back around and new ones that I didn't expect. And I'm not going to sit on them. I want to actually talk these out. So by the end of the episode, you are going to understand why leaving is not the opposite of strength, right? It's not make you stronger to stay. And why stillness before a big decision is not weakness, right? Why being ready to walk away is not your last resort, right? It's a negotiating position. Okay, so here's my story. Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. You guys, if you've been here for a while, you know that I have been a medical director at a practice. And I submitted my resignation from that medical director position, and I've been talking about it. And yeah, I stayed longer than I should have. Not because I didn't see the things, right? I think if you know, you've been on my journey, you know that I've been seeing the signs. I've been talking about the burnout. I've been talking about the struggle of things. But I had negotiated some of the perks so well that leaving almost felt like losing those things. It felt like giving something. And I want to be honest about that because I used my own tools of negotiation to make a terrible situation more tolerable than it deserved to be. And it kept me there longer, to the point of like, there's no way I can stay here and continue to subject myself to this treatment. And then I also judged myself really harshly for staying so long, right? I was like, how did I even end up here when I know all the things that I know? And yeah, there was just, like that boy, Amy be loud and proud, loud and proud. And then I was like, in my mind, I should not even feel bad about this. Like, this should be a position of power where I'm leaving. And this is like, I'm standing up for myself. And all those things are true, but I still felt sad. Like, there was a grieving period and I wasn't expecting to feel grief, right? I wasn't expecting to feel sad. Even though for me, there's always a sadness of like leaving patients, and there's like lots of parts of the job that I really enjoy, right? Obviously, I'm a pediatrician for a reason. I love children. I love talking to parents. I love educating families. I love seeing improvement. Like, that is where the fire is for me. Those are the things that really fulfill my heart, is connecting with people, creating community, right? You guys know I'm huge on community. And so I expected to feel sad about that, but I didn't expect to feel sad about discontinuing the position. But honestly, I felt really sad about how I was treated, especially considering how much I've given and sacrificed for this position, how much I went above and beyond, the extra mile. And I know that those things do not guarantee that people will treat you kindly or that they will be compassionate towards you. And I was still surprised. And then I judged myself for being surprised because I know that those things don't always equate to the other, right? Like, I talk a lot about the fact that people are burning themselves out by taking the extra shift, volunteering for the extra thing, proving themselves constantly, and it not being appreciated, reciprocated, validated. And I was still surprised when it happened to me. And then mad that I was surprised. Our brain is such a crazy place. Yeah. And then I was like, well, I shouldn't feel bad. And then I wouldn't have even allowed myself to feel bad, which is like crazy, right? I'm quoting Eleanor Roosevelt, like, people can't make you feel inferior without your consent. And then being like, so why do I feel like this? Why do I feel bad, right? Like, using it to shame myself for being hurt by people who were in fact being hurtful. So my therapist said something to me that stopped me. And I promise I'm going to get into the lessons. I'm just giving you all baseline. My therapist said to me that people can and will make you feel bad, right? That's not your fault. But how you respond is yours. Like that is yours. That's your responsibility. And that's something I've talked about previously, right? It's not your fault that situations are horrible, but it is your responsibility. What you do about it is your responsibility. And it's the same thing I say with boundaries, right? The boundary is not with another person. The boundary is with yourself. What are you going to do when this person continues to violate the things that you've asked them not to violate? It's not just as a method of like, this is my boundary, you should not do X, because you cannot control other people. You only control yourself. And so always the key here is, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to remove myself from situations that are very harmful to me. And I talked to you guys, and I think in the last episode or before that, like I was literally having heart palpitations. I'm literally having headaches. The physical toll of the stress from this work environment on my body over time, I think you guys have been observing it. Like pretty much gave up a lot of my coaching business. Like I was so burnt out. And I don't think I understood the root of the burnout truly, right? Like, yeah, that this thing was beating me up to the point where I was no longer feeling creative, or, sometimes burnout comes in so many different forms from so many different angles. And then you're surprised again. I'm always feeling like, oh, I can't believe this happened, And then I judge myself for the fact that it happened, almost like I've allowed it to happen by not recognizing it, which is not a kind thing to even tell myself. So I'm gonna try to release that. Like I said, me and my therapist, we gonna work through this, boo. I think I got therapy today. I need to check my calendar. But anyway, I need to ensure that you all understand the message. Two important points is the boundary is you, and don't beat yourself up. Okay. So anyway, let's get into lessons because I have a few and I don't want this episode to be forever. So lesson number 1, you cannot stay where they beat you. I was reading this book and it's called Kin by Tiari Jones. And it is about women going through their life. And she says, you can't stay where people beat you, right? One of the characters says that. It's not like these people were physically beating me, right? Okay. But not every environment can be negotiated into something livable. There's a difference between a hard job and a harmful one. And I am learning that lesson right now, right? I expected being a director would have challenges. I expected, because like employment and HR and learning how to manage people all over again, like I hadn't done it in some years, but I have the experience and I know it's difficult, but like always difficult in a new way. It's like every kid is a different person. Every employee is a different person. But there were so many tenets of harm that were occurring in the workplace, from the lack of support that I was given to what all the drama that's going on right now that I'm not going to get into yet, or maybe ever. I don't know. Depends on how it turns out. But yeah, you cannot take a job that is harmful, chalk it up to just being hard and stay there, right? Like knowing which one you are in is the first piece of work, the first thing that you have to do and consider. Okay. So think about whether your job is hard or harmful. And if it is the latter, I have episodes on escape plans. Okay. Excellent episode. All right. 2, this is what I talked about before. The boundary is for you, not for them. I talk about this with my coaching clients in the past. I talked about this with you guys on the podcast. I talked about this on Instagram. The boundary is not what you're demanding other people to do. It is what you will do, because you control you. They could have communicated differently. They could have made it an easier transition. They could have been kind. They chose not to do any of those things. That is information. That's not a negotiating point, right? There's nothing that you're going to do or say that's going to make other people respond in a certain way. And I think that's a key thing, because that has been my position through this entire battle, is like, if I explain to them how they're being retaliatory, if I explain to them how they're being unkind, if I show them, they do not care. They do not care. Okay. There's a history there. There's a pattern. There's lots of evidence. They do not care. It's like what we're going through now politically. And that is, we talk a lot about certain people, and they would change their mind if they would change their mind about this current president, if they only understood, if they could only see, no, they don't care, right? And spending your time, wasting your energy is like such a time suck. It's the same way with racism. It's like, it's a Toni Morrison. Why am I blanking on the quote? I would have prepared this before, but I didn't. But Toni Morrison has a quote that talks about the fact that, like, the single purpose of racism is to basically waste your time. Like, you spend your whole time defending and explaining and defending, and then they find something else that you have to defend and explain until you burn yourself out and you've accomplished nothing, right? So don't use these things as points of negotiation. If you find harm in your environment, it is information you need to move forward, out, away, remove yourself. You can't negotiate with people who value nothing. I tried. I want to be very clear to that. I came to the table, like I mentioned. I gave examples of, like, what would be the better alternative here. Like, this is what we should be doing instead. Like, this is what needs to be happening. This is the standard. This is example, 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 example. I tried. But negotiation requires that two parties have something to lose. And when the other side decides that they owe you nothing, including basic decency, there's nothing to negotiate. Recognizing that point is not giving up. It's a clarifying moment. Just because you can, this is lesson 4, just because you can does not mean you should, right? I probably could have ignored all of the signs. I probably could have just stayed quiet, kept my head down, sucked it up. That's technically true. But at what cost, right? And to what end, right? Because, like I already mentioned, it was already affecting my health. Like, right now I'm talking, I still have chest pain. Like, I literally have an appointment with a cardiologist. Never mind that my insurance was through work and I no longer have insurance. But, we'll figure that out, right? Like, even with the cost of not having an employment, no longer being employed, no longer having health insurance, I could not stay. That cost is still too high. Staying quiet to preserve a situation that is costing you your health is not a strategy, right? It's self-abandonment dressed up as professionalism. And I don't want you to judge it, right? Like, sometimes we think that one thing is worth it, and sometimes it just turns out not to be. And that's just what it is. Lesson 5, retaliation is a real fear. Right? This is what people are scared of the most when I talk about negotiation and when I teach people how to negotiate. The thing that they are most afraid of is retaliation, right? Like, if I try to negotiate, they will rescind the offer. And I think that in that specific example, we want to know that, because you do not want to go into an environment where they're already retaliating you for saying something at the onset. That's not a good sign. That's a red flag, right? We fear what they will say, who they will call, what doors they will close, what doors it can close for you in the future, right? That's still not a good enough reason not to say something or not to walk away from something. Patriarchy and supremacy are not only held up by white men. They're held up by anyone invested in having the system stay the same, including people that look like me, including me, right? My desire over the last year and a half to make it work, to maintain things even when things were going sideways, is part of how patriarchy and supremacy are upheld. Knowing that I've had employees that have reported discrimination and talking to them about it, not in any way negating their claims, but also trying to figure out what the compromise is, also part of upholding supremacy. And that's something I have to sit with, right? We all have our own roles in the system staying the status quo. And there are so many ways in which I buck the system, including this particular scenario right now. And so, yeah, the work is just ongoing. I don't actually feel judgment of that internally. I just feel like, oh, okay, I'm seeing this for what it is, and this is how I want to do going forward. I see the work that I have done and how far I have come to not uphold the tenet. And I know that I still have work to do and ways to go. Like, there's still so much unlearning to go. There's so much things that I have already internalized that just need to be released. The fear of retaliation is very real. Okay. I don't want you to think that I'm saying it's not. I'm not dismissing it. But it cannot be the reason you stay somewhere that's making you smaller. 6, stillness leads to clarity. And I don't even like the word clarity because I think some people use it against themselves to stay. They're waiting for clarity. They're waiting for a signy sign. And I did that. I have done that so many times, right? This place has showed me all the signs. I have so many email correspondence that show me trying to navigate through the signs that this was not the place for me. And yeah, like that's just what we do. I don't want you to stay stuck looking for clarity. It's clear, right? And then the other thing is like stillness of announcing your next move and what you're going to do. Even recording this podcast, I'm a little hesitant and I'm being purposefully vague about some of the details of the job because it's scary. I think I still feel vulnerable, not in the like they will affect my future employment, but like in a they are lions and I am in the lion den, right? Like even saying that I quit, like I wanted to announce it the moment it happened. Okay. It's already been like 2 weeks, y'all. I did not. I sat with it and I let myself feel it without broadcasting it. Cause we want to go on social media. We want to say the thing. But I had a lot of thoughts to go through and I'm still in it. Even recording this episode, my Claude AI was like, this might be too soon for you, girl. You kind of in the middle of it, but I'm going to ignore Claude. Maybe against good judgment. But anyway, I think sitting with it, even in the last couple weeks, has led me to make different decisions, led me to listen to my heart. It's also given me a lot more creativity, a lot more direction, a lot of sense of what comes next that I would not have accessed or could not have accessed if I had immediately opened the floor to everyone's opinions, right? Like there's a season for quiet. There's a season for moving in silence. You need to honor that. So yes, the fact that I've not included additional details, I'm doing that on purpose. Okay. Lesson 7. Obviously, you can see I'm still processing, right? This is real-time processing. I don't know. This feels terrifying, to be honest. Okay. Lesson 7 is being ready and willing and able to leave. That is the true power. It's not a consolation prize. It's not a plan B. The moment you are genuinely prepared to walk away, you negotiate from a different place, like a completely different place. Okay. I sat down and I was like, let me look at my finances because that's the number one thing that people are worried about, right? Do I have the money to even do this? Is there a financial detriment to doing this? And there is, right? Like not having income is terrifying. But also, I know that I always like to have an exit plan because every job is not always what it cracks up to be, right? I've had fantastic jobs and then I've had terrible jobs. And so knowing that you need to be in a position to leave all the time, just having that savings account, having another source of income, having people to support you, your community. What does it take for you to be ready for a termination or to ready to walk away from a bad situation, right? Now, I'm going to admit to y'all that I had to be forced out of this one. That is the truth. I'm sitting with what that means. I was forced out of this. And so I'm thinking about what I will do differently. And this episode really is like what I already knew, what I need to remember, and what I've learned. And at the end of the day end, no, I'm just kidding. I left, right? The end of the day is I left and I'm still standing. I still have joy. I still have love in my life. Thank God. I still have a place to live. I still have food to eat. I still have friends. Like literally not much has changed other than I'm not currently getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. And I no longer have connections to the families with whom I built relationships. And that is a loss. I'm still standing. I'm still standing. Your brain thinks in like songs. Like every time I say a phrase that belongs to a song that I know, it pops into my head. But yeah, these are the lessons that are worth sharing for me. I think there are people right now who are treating you like shit and who are not speaking to you, giving you the silent treatment because they owe you an apology.
And that is not a reason to shrink, right? Their bad retaliatory actions towards you is not because you necessarily did something wrong. Sometimes it's because they have done wrong and they're not able to face it. So that's a reason for you to keep going. I think choose kindness when you can. Choose kindness for yourself, right? Like wanting to lash back out, that drive is so strong. Oh my gosh. Because you know me, I always got something to say, honey. But for my own benefit, for my own sanity, for my own health, I'm just not. Not because they deserve the kindness, but because I do, because you do. And know this, the most powerful position in any negotiation is being genuinely prepared to walk away. Build towards that always. Okay. So if that episode hits close to home, share it with someone who needs permission to stop staying somewhere that is absolute trash and that has stopped serving them. And if you're in the middle of something right now and you need to think through it, you need to talk through it, like DM me, email me, whatever. You guys know how to reach me. My DMs are wide open. I'm so happy to talk through your current situation. And if it's coaching you need, I can do that. If it's a resource or just a plan, like we can figure all of that out. I'm so happy to be the person you call on. We can get on a call. It would be an initial call to see if the program works for you or if you need something else. But yeah, I'm here. Like the one thing I've always said about even coaching is like being in medicine constantly gives me fodder and lessons that I can then share with anybody that I coach, that I can share on Instagram, on Facebook, using my own life as the example, in this case, unfortunately. But being able to learn real time how the market changes, what's going on, how workplaces operate, how employers can be cruel, allows me to be a better advocate for myself and for you. So again, if you enjoy this, please share. Please subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't, or give it a thumbs up. All the things that people say, thumbs up the podcast so we can keep going. And I appreciate you listening all the way through the end. You guys are the best. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is link us everywhere you can. Instagram at The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.